So you got 2 outs here in this situation. Freddie Freeman singles home, walks. Okay, 7-5 ball game. Can still limit some damage here. And now you've got Trey Turner up to the plate. Okay, Bennett Sousa gets Trey Turner 0-2. This is setting up the scenario here. Wild pitch goes in the dirt, gets past Grandal. Freeman goes to second base, and then Tony LaRussa makes the call. This is a 1-2 count now.
Wait a second.
They're going to intentionally walk him.
On 1-2?
Yep.
Can you explain that to me?
I would think you don't want Turner to do any more damage, and you want to take advantage of the lefty-lefty.
Typically at 2 strikes, the league batting average is quite low.
Oh, yeah. It is that.
So that's just the basics of it there, Tony. Right from the get-go, not looking at numbers, anything here. My common sense, just as a feel from a baseball standpoint, as a former pitcher, I would go and nibble the edges and try to get him to chase. You still got a couple to work with there at 1 and 2.
Throw junk. That's what that's where my head is.
Right.
Maybe I'm not intentionally walking him, but I'm going to intentionally walk this fucker by not giving him anything over the plate to hit. That's my first inkling as well, Johnny.
Because you've got at least 2 shots, 3 shots at it there, right? To be able to, you've got 3 shots at it to throw your pitch outside. He's going to try get him to chase. Maybe if you look stupid on it, great, then you're out of the inning. But either way, alas, this is a decision that was made. And then after things start to unravel further, because Max Muncy comes up, took, as some motivation. He homers out in this one, kind of rips the Band-Aid off it, lets the bleeding happen. And 10-5 at this point there. Lopez comes in, replaces Sousa here. But this is a firestorm. And I think a lot of it was the response afterward, Tony. When you're talking about this decision, and LaRussa said he kind of just dismissed it, and the combative tone of what he said was, I think, what really kind of set people off.
You explained the thought process on the intentional walk with
Turner?
Turner at 1-2 on the count.
So let me ask you a question. Okay. Is there some question about whether that was a good move or not?
I guess at 1-2 is the question at the count.
Do you know what he hits against left-hand pitching with 1-0-1 or 2 strikes? Do you know what he hits? Well, you know what Muncy hits with 2 strikes against left-hand pitcher? Is that really a question?
Yeah.
Because it was 1 and 2? Turner was a strike left against a left-hander is not something you can avoid if you can. And we had an open base, and Muncy happened to be the guy behind him, and that's a better matchup. Here again, somebody disagrees. That's the beauty of this game. Welcome to it.
LaRussa is, as we've learned, going to do what he's going to do over and over again. And there's so many people who are going to question him. There's not a coach in this city, Johnny, outside of, in my lifetime, it really feels like, outside of like Quenville when the Hawks were winning cups, that and even he was questioned. Towards the end of this, he was everybody eventually hates the manager. This is totally different, though. Tony LaRussa, he knows how to handle the media at this point. I think he knew that they were going to come in there and try and draw a narrative. But again, on paper, common sense, this baseball situation, it just feels like so little league to me, on the surface, right? On the surface of this. I'm wondering if he knows that it was wrong, and he I don't know. I'm really curious.
I'm going to double down here.
I'm just going to double it, dude. It's like when you're you fucking put all your chips in at the poker table, and you're looking at somebody across, they're going to come out here and go drag you. Yeah. Your only way to not get dragged is to just look fucking confident. You're in that situation. All right. I lost, whatever. And sometimes people want to see the humility. They want to see them admit defeat.
Right.
Well, I would almost argue, Johnny, though, that if he comes out there and says, that was a boneheaded fucking move, that was terrible.
Yeah.
That's how you lose your locker room. This is kind of like checkmate almost from the people who've been, wanting a different manager. I've supported Tony LaRussa through most of this. I'll be honest. If you listen to the show all the time, I think it's kind of interesting because you've got a guy who, out of people who are alive, I believe, he's one of the most winning managers of all time. He's won World Series. He's done more on the baseball field in the dugout for teams than pretty much anybody else that's walking on this fucking earth. But then you come to situations like this, and we'll get into numbers and his reasoning and all this other stuff, where he acts above everyone, he acts above the media. He talks about how this was, like he almost basically wrote it off like, I dare somebody to tell me that was a bad decision.
Yeah.
And to an extent, nobody's going to want to hear that. And it's only going to make the fire worse.
Right. And I wish I could just get a better explanation fully, because I want to look at these numbers. You said we're going to get into numbers. I want to just throw out a few here, because there are some career versus recent trends here that I just want to look at. And at the end of the day, I would just go with the fucking common sense of, I'm going to at least try and get this
big
guy
brain time.
I'm just going to go. Yeah, I think we're really overthinking this, but let's get into it since we're already in the debacle here, Tony. Let's get into it. This is via Joe Sheehan on Twitter. It's Trea Turner career versus lefties after 1 and 2 counts. 258, 310, 390 slash line. Now, Souza's career versus righties after 1 and 2 counts, 167, 286, 167 slash line. So obviously playing pretty damn well in Souza's favor there with the 2 strikes there. Now, when you're talking about Muncy, what he went for there, career versus left-handed pitchers. You got to remember, it's not like count transfers over. You got a fresh count here when you bring up Max Muncy. Career versus lefties, 251, 365, 492 slash line. Souza, career versus lefties, 300, 389, 367. Okay, you had some more recent ones. I believe it was John Boy that I brought up, because I like the recent trends too. But I will say, like I said, I would just go back to the common sense thing and not overthink this. But for this sake of drawing out the whole situation, go ahead and read me the others.
Yeah, so John Boy actually tweeted something about an hour ago, and he said, do you know what he hits against left-handed pitching with 2 strikes? Do you know what Muncy hits against left-handed pitching? Trea Turner against lefties with 2 strikes this year and 27 at-bats. He's got 7 hits, 3 walks, has struck out 11 times, so I'm not saying that's not possible, but he's hitting 259, 333, 370. Muncy versus lefties overall this season in 40 at-bats, only has 5 hits, has walked 10 times, has struck out 8. He's hitting 125, 300, 150. So that's what they're at on the year entering that play right there.
Interesting when you're talking about the career. Like I said, I don't know if career would be the best things to go off. I mean, it does give you like a baseline to start with, but it's what have you done for me lately? How, you're only as good as your last envelope, right?
I don't know. I just feel like as a fan base, not a lot of people put respect on his name because a lot of people wanted AJ Hinch here. And so I'm not trying to sit here and say that his decision today was right. I wouldn't have fucking done it. Even if I had those stats available, I probably wouldn't have done it. I just wouldn't have. It goes back to the baseball and the emotion of and what's going on in that situation.
Yeah.
One thing that I've got a problem with is, and I'll go back to situations where the White Sox have let their pitchers pitch against big hitters. Lance Lynn, Vlad Guerrero Jr., prime example number 1 for me, Johnny.
Last year. Yeah.
From last year. Tony LaRussa let Lance Lynn go in a situation against Vlad Guerrero Jr., and it wound up very poorly. Was this could it have been an overreaction to stuff like that that's happened before with this White Sox crew? Even last year, where we've had big pitchers go against guys that we shouldn't be going against. The pitcher's got an ego too. I feel like in this situation, like just hypothetically, if Lance Lynn's on the mound in this situation, say the game's going a little bit different, you got Trea Turner there, Lance Lynn's going to get that intentional walk call and be like, no, fuck you. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Unless Tony LaRussa takes it out of his hands. And that was something that we sat here on the show and talked about and said, I want Tony LaRussa to take it out of someone's hands and just call for the intentional walk in these situations. Now, 2 strikes adds a whole extra element to it.
Right.
But again, on the other side, I feel like we've had this talk before with it being completely different.